Why is Dan Campbell being asked about season tickets?
You are Locked On Lions, your daily Detroit Lions podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? It is a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Matt Dery with you on a Wednesday, December 20th and a Thursday, December the 21st. Thanks for checking us out wherever you get your podcast. Thank you for subscribing and watching for free at our Locked On Lions YouTube channel. We are over 9,000 subscribers. We're over 9,100 subscribers, so we appreciate you watching, checking us out, our everydayers. Shout out to you that watch or listen every day. We appreciate your listenership, and hit me up on Twitter at Dery Speaks, at Locked On Lions on Twitter, and also the Matt Dery Facebook fan page. On the show today, I've got to defend the head coach. Something happened at the press conference today, which I'll play for you, which is absolutely ridiculous. This team is 10-4, 3 games to go, playing for a chance at winning the division for the first time in 30 years. 30 years. We got reporters asking the head coach about season ticket holders being upset. It's preposterous. Also, Dan Campbell in the running for Coach of the Year. We touched on a little bit with Brad Spielberger from PFF yesterday. We'll get into that. We got to talk about the Vikings game this week. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson talked. Jerry Jacobs has a hamstring, might not play this week. All of that today right here on Locked On Lions, brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, so tomorrow Luke Braun will join us. Locked On Vikings, Locked On Lions Thursday crossover. Sunday, a big game, 1 o'clock in Minnesota. Lions currently, according to FanDuel, 3.5-point favorites in their game with division rival Minnesota. First time we've seen the Vikings all year, and it's December the 20th. I hate this. There's a chance, good chance, the Lions and Vikings could play 3 times in 4 weeks. That's awful. Brutal. Don't like it at all. All right, so I'm a big Dan Campbell fan. I think Dan Campbell has done a fantastic job. He's a great dude. He's a great guy. He's an excellent coach. He's shown it, all right? Yes, we question some of his play calls. Yes, we question if he's over-aggressive. There's all sorts of things you can question. But they just win. Right? The Lions are 10-4. They had a winning record last season, finishing 9-8, and of course not getting into the playoffs. But still, 2 of his first 3 years, he's done the job well. Players love him. He relates to the players. All of these things. Today at his Wednesday press conference after a day off, he got back on the podium today, talked about the focus of just sticking to the focus of winning the division and their eyes on Minnesota and all of these things. And, talking about injuries, talking about key players, lauding Brian Flores for the job he's done as defensive coordinator, all of this stuff. And then today, Free Press columnist Carlos Monarez or whatever, asked Dan Campbell about the season ticket controversy that we brought up a couple of days ago. Take a listen to this, courtesy of DetroitLions.com. It's just outrageous. All right, there's Dan Campbell, courtesy of DetroitLions.com. Carlos Monarez asking him about the consternation that many of you have about the ticket prices being raised. 2 things here. Number one, that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous question. Why are you asking the coach about ticket prices? Dan's answer was great. Said, Carlos, you're putting me in a bad spot here. Because whatever answer he gives isn't going to be good enough for many fans who right now have had increases from 69% to 80% with their tickets. We told you about, a few of our listeners on Monday being upset about this and sharing with us some of their stories of their prices going from $1,500 for the season to $2,800, almost nearly double. The coach should not be asked that question. You're putting him in a bad position. To Dan Campbell's credit, he answered the question as professionally as he could have. Said, I'm not in marketing. It is what it is. I hate saying it that way, but I'm just here to try to win games. Number one, it should come as no surprise to my audience here that Carlos asked that. All right. He at times is a total clown. I actually wrote an interesting piece the other day in the Free Play I read about leadership at Michigan with Juwan Howard and Jim Harbaugh. It actually was decent. But a lot of times he writes and asks some ridiculous stuff. But number two, Dan Campbell is the one that had to be asked that question from Monterez because the team president's hiding. Where's the team president? Where's 222 Rod Wood Drive to come out and speak on this? Because the fans are still talking about it. This was on Monday that many of the season ticket holders got their emails with no letter attached about their ticket prices, which went way up. No explanation from the team president. This reminds me of the days in the Tigers clubhouse when Miguel Cabrera and other members of the team would hide and not answer questions and bolt out the back door after a quick shower. And good guys like Alex Avila and Shane Halter and others had to answer questions for the star players who were in hiding. Come on, Rod, get out there. You certainly had no problem a couple weeks ago, at that Cranes event, just talking about how you put together the list of things that the Lions were looking for in a coach and a GM and our team, and I'm in the meetings and me, and I'm behind the scenes. Sweet, Rod, where are you at now? Your head coach is having to answer questions for you. That's Bush. That's total Bush League. And I don't want to spend any more time on it. It's over. But I'm defending the head coach. He should not be getting ready for a game being asked about season ticket prices for next year and increases. And again, I don't care that they increased them. I feel bad for some of the fans that might be priced out. The team's having a successful season. They hadn't really raised season ticket prices for years. They were one of the lowest season ticket holder prices in the league. Now they're going to go up a little bit because the team's doing well. It's supply and demand. I understand that. But where is the team president to explain why they did it? We're sorry. We feel bad. Price of business. We got 9 games. 9 is more than 8. This, and this. Tell us something. Instead, your head coach has to be asked questions from that buffoon reporter. Whole thing is stupid. The focus right now should be on this team is playing great ball. They're 10-4, about to win the division. They're favored on the road in Minnesota. When's this? The Lions were favorites to go into Minnesota and win. It's been probably over a decade. I love it. But yeah, the coach has to be asked about season ticket prices. Thanks, Carlos. Thanks, Rod. Locked On Lions brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. PrizePicks is so much fun. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks is the most fun I've had, up to winning 25 times my money this football season. You put in $10, you can win $250 just like that. What is awesome too, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from their specials leagues. You could put a bet down on tonight, Donovan Mitchell for the Cavs, and Thursday night game tomorrow with one of the players, whatever you want to do. What about Jamar Chase? More than or less than 75 receiving yards this weekend. What about Jahmyr Gibbs? More than or less than 70 rushing yards. All of that at PrizePicks. It is fun. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the code Locked On NFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Daily fantasy sports made easy with PrizePicks. All right, we talked about this a little bit yesterday with Brad Spielberger from Pro Football Focus, but the job that Dan Campbell has done this year has been another good job, all right? And the Detroit Lions are on the verge of 11 wins and winning their first division since 1993. Of course, the Lions then played the Packers in the playoffs in the wild card and lost the Sterling Sharp wide open game, but I'm not going to go there. Coach of the year this year is tricky. There are so many good candidates. If you go to Indianapolis right now and listen to their sports radio and JMV in the afternoon, he's great. They're talking about Shane Steichen as the coach of the year. Why? Colts are like, what are they, 9-6? 8-6? Colts are 8-6. Dude, could you name 4 Colts? Do you know that their quarterback's been out for the year since September? It's Gardner Minshew and Zach Moss and Zaire Franklin, Alec Pierce. It's not a who's who. And they could win that division. What a job Shane Steichen has done. What about Kyle Shanahan? All the Niners do is win. All they do is win. He's got Brock Purdy playing at an MVP level. Does he deserve some Coach of the Year votes? Absolutely. Go to Cleveland right now and check out 92.3 The Fan and listen to their shows. They're talking about Kevin Stefanski for Coach of the Year. Why? They've gone through 4 or 5 quarterbacks. They had Deshaun Watson, DTR, Joe Flacco. They've started a bunch of different people. And the Browns have 9 wins right now. They're in good shape and could, definitely make the playoffs. I don't think they can win the division. I think that's going to be Baltimore's. But regardless, Cleveland playing well, very well. And even when they didn't play their best game like last week against the Bears, they still somehow survived. So they are 9-5. That's pretty darn good for the Browns. That's a cursed franchise. Sean McVay with the Rams has a team at 500 with all the injuries that they've had this year. Zach Taylor, the Bengals are like 8-6. They haven't had Joe. They had Joe Burrow at the start of the year. He was horrible. Then he got hurt, out for the year, and playing Jake Browning. The Bengals are in the playoffs if the season ended today in a stacked AFC. John Harbaugh with the Ravens. I mean, the list goes. D'Amico Ryans. People thought Houston was going to win 3 or 4 games this year. They're in the mix with 7 wins. So while Dan Campbell has done such an incredible job, and it's really been a 2-year thing with him and how well the team has played, it's no lock that he's going to be Coach of the Year. What's ironic about this is these other guys like Steichen, Stefanski, McVay, and Taylor is expectations once some of those teams lost all these injured players. Once Deshaun Watson went out, everybody said, Brown season's over. Nick Chubb, Brown season's over. Anthony Richardson, Colts season's over. Joe Burrow, Bengals season's over. For the most part, the Lions have stayed relatively healthy. Yes, they've lost Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Mosley, and they've had guys miss. Anzalone's been out. Ragnow, we've talked about the O-line. But the Lions' expectations at the start of the year, they're actually right there. Nobody thought the Colts were any good. 5-6 win team, right? Rebuilding a little bit. Rams, awful. Youngest defense in the league. They won't make the playoffs. Stafford's not healthy. Kupp's been out, and yet McVay's got him knocking on the door. Lions might actually play the Rams in the playoffs, and don't get me started on that. So the Lions have actually lived up to the hype and have played good football, and maybe that's what hurts Dan Campbell with the voters. It's like, oh, no, we thought Detroit was going to be good at the start of the year, and they are. Nobody expected Stefanski to run through 5 quarterbacks and have the Browns in the playoffs. Nobody expected Shane Steichen to take the Colts anywhere, yet they're in the postseason right now if the season ended today. D'Amico Ryan, same thing. Houston, please. Look at what Bobby Slowick, his offensive coordinator, has done with CJ Stroud. And that team has done a lot of winning. That's with a lot of injuries that they've had as well. So maybe, just maybe, that hurts Dan Campbell's cause, because in most years, you would figure he would be the guy that would win it. And right now, he is the Vegas favorite, according to FanDuel, to win it. But there's a lot of good candidates. But you got to give him credit. All right. When this team's been written off, and it's not been a lot, but, last few weeks, they don't look so good. The division's going to be troublesome. Even if they win the division, they won't win a playoff game. 10-4. 10-4. That's pretty good. That's real good. What is it? 16-5 in their last 21, going back to last year. Dan Campbell deserves a lot of credit, and he's got a good staff. All right. Ben Johnson's done a great job. Hank Fraley was talking today about Jahmyr Gibbs. What a job he's done as offensive line coach with all the shuffling that they've had to do this year. Jackson out, Ragnow out, Decker out for a little bit, Vitae out for the year. Hank Fraley, that's a damn good assistant coach. I don't know if he wants to be an offensive coordinator one day or a head coach somewhere. That dude can coach. And that's Dan Campbell putting the right staff together. That is for sure. So the Lions will play the Vikings. We're going to talk to Luke Braun tomorrow from Locked On Vikings. One note about this game on Sunday. I like the Lions. I think the Lions are the better team. Vikings have a very young defense, but Flores has done a great job. They blitz a ton. They give you a different look. They're weird to watch defensively. There's some times they're sending delayed blitzes. Sometimes they only rush 3. Sometimes they're rushing 6. They're a crapshoot to watch. But the one thing that I'm concerned about, and I mentioned Jerry Jacobs didn't practice today with a hamstring, is the weapons that Minnesota has right now. Do you realize Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson are both on pace for 1,000-yard receiving seasons? And Justin Jefferson, if he were healthy, he'd be at 1,500, 1,600 yards. So the Lions are going to have themselves, look, Nick Mullins is no great shakes at quarterback. If Cousins were healthy, I'd be really scared about this game. He's not. And if you watch Mullins on Saturday, there were some good throws. And then red zone, Ty Chandler, no relation to Gary Chandler, Detroit's bad boy. But Ty Chandler was running all over Cincinnati. And then they got in the red zone, and Mullins is chucking the ball to the Bengals. Made no sense why you were going away from the run with what Chandler was doing. But watch Hawkinson, watch Addison. Justin Jefferson is healthy. And with the Lions a little bit short at corner, guys like Khalil Dorsey, Kindle Vildor, even our favorite Will Harris, they're going to have to play. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's back at practice. That's good. We're going to tell you what he had to say today in a second. That's a good sign. But the Vikings have some weapons. The question is, will Mullins have time to throw? Because I think Hutchinson's going to have a big game coming off of the left side against the Vikings backup right tackle. I think the Lions feel good about rushing more guys. Aaron Glenn, future head coach, with the blitz packages this past week against Denver, I say do the same with Mullins. You're not playing somebody like Dobbs, who's pretty much been banished to number 3 in Minnesota, who can run. Mullins does not move well at all. That's a good sign for Detroit. But it's never easy to play in the division. I mean, the Lions are 10-4, yet half their losses are in the division. Of course, 1 to Green Bay and 1 to Chicago. All right. Coming up next, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson said something really funny. This guy is just so entertaining. We'll tell you what he said coming up next. First, Locked On Lions brought to you by Gametime, the app that is the best for trying to get tickets. You shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event, because Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. Killer last-minute deals, all-in prices from your seat, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. I told you about last weekend. I went to Indiana, Kansas at Assembly Hall. Love that place. Got the tickets on Gametime. All right. Lower bowl, able to find my seats, section J, row 25. And it was easy, hassle-free, and everything else. Last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, they've got it all. And they've got a lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and all of that. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. One more thing on the Gametime app. Many people want tickets to the Lions and Vikings season finale in a few weeks. Check out what's there at Gametime. All right, please do. They will help you. It's a really, really good app. All right, so the Lions have a player that is just completely, he's like a reporter's dream in that locker room, and that is Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, or CD Deuce, whatever he wants to call himself. Coming back from that torn pectoral muscle, has been back at practice now the last couple of days, and feels like he's going to be ready to go soon. And of course, the Lions can open up that window to get him to go. Got some roster maneuvering they've got to do already. Hendon Hooker has been activated and put on the 53-man roster, and Riley Patterson was released. How about that? They're going with the money badger. This ought to end well. Well, we'll see. I don't know. The Lions are the weirdest team when it comes to kickers. They've had Riley Patterson kicking every game this year, and for the most part, he's been decent. Last couple weeks, misses 2 extra points. Brad Holmes, whacks him. He's out. Badgley, you're back in, who's been sitting on the practice squad all season. Why didn't you just keep Badgley in the first place? It's been musical chairs with kickers for 3 years. Don't get me started on it. Don't even ask me about it. I don't know. I don't have an answer. I think Brad Holmes gets like an itchy trigger finger when it comes to kickers. So maybe Patterson will be re-signed to the practice squad. I have no idea. But regardless, eventually Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's going to have to come back and take up a roster spot. But think about how good this secondary could be with Gardner-Johnson, Kirby Joseph, Melifonwu, who's starting to come on, Brian Branch, and Cam Sutton. And you could mix and match. Maybe Branch moves a little bit away from the nickel. Maybe sometimes he's playing outside. Maybe Melifonwu, who could play corner, goes back to playing some corner and also some safety. Gardner-Johnson, we know, can play some corner. Lions have options. All right. But like I said, this week, I don't think he's going to play. So you're going to see Khalil Dorsey. You're going to see Vildor. And that concerns me a bit. But Gardner-Johnson was asked about the ski masks. Remember, back in September, he said, we want everybody to show up with the blue ski masks and let's go. And I said, this is stupid. It's just the connotation of ski masks in Detroit, opens up Pandora's box. Then, not only did the Lions lose the game where the ski masks were a thing, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson got injured, tore his pec, and has been out the whole season. So today he was asked about, are you guys going to bring back the ski masks? Are you pushing for it? And he had the greatest quote I ever saw. I saw this from Nolan Bianchi at the Detroit News. Shout out to Nolan and Justin Rogers. He said, quote, I'm not even going to cap. I think that bleep cursed, the S word. I think the ski masks are cursed, end quote. That's awesome. That dude is funny. Every team has got to have a veteran like that just is a great interview and keeps the locker room loose. And like I said it when they were doing the ski mask, this is stupid. Then they get smoked by Seattle. He gets hurt. He's right. Those ski masks are cursed. But at least he didn't come out and say, man, we got to bring the ski mask back. I love the ski mask bit. Let's do the ski mask. No, he was like, it's cursed. Can't do it. So I appreciate Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for that. I can't wait to see him back in the field. He's a trash talker. He's a big hitter. He's a ball hawk. And we've talked all year about this secondary and what they've done and at times playing pretty poor and the defense not being good. You miss a guy like that. A veteran who's playing for a longer-term contract, who loves it here. He said he's going to cry when they win the division because it's been 30 years. He's so attached to this city. He's played 2 games here. He's been here for a few months. Like, he's exactly the type of guy you want here. And the Lions never, ever would have been able to sign guys like this with previous regimes. That's why you got to give Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell a lot of credit. And hey, throw Rod Wood in there. A lot of credit. Because a guy like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who was playing on a Super Bowl team last year in Philadelphia that made the Super Bowl, Thought he was a little bit lowballed. They didn't bring him back. They obviously could use him. Did you watch Bradbury this past Monday night? Oof, woof. And yet came to Detroit on a 1-year deal and has embraced being here and has embraced playing for Dan Campbell. That's why I was so mad about today's press conference, because that's the type of stuff we should be talking about. It has been nothing but positive this whole year. And there have been some ups and downs. Every team goes through them. Clunker in Baltimore, the clunker in Chicago, happens. But for the most part, it's been a really, really good year for this football team. By the way, I believe I saw Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, and the great Shannon Spake calling the game on Fox this week for Lions and Vikings. That'll do it for a Wednesday edition of Locked On Lions. Thanks for making us your first listen and checking us out wherever you get your podcasts tomorrow. Everydayers, don't miss it. We got our man, Luke Braun. We talked to Luke in ages from Locked On Vikings on the Thursday crossover.